All right. So previously we mentioned that CSS applies a box model, a box around every element inside of the HTML document or HTML document, right? So I just want to talk about what you can adjust and how it treats that box more specifically. And it treats it like this. Okay. So imagine that here's the CSS in case you're curious. Imagine that you have your content, all right? So the content, this could be an image, it could be text, it could be a video, any element that is inside of it, all right? So in this case, we'll just say it's text. What you can do is that you can adjust the height and width of that content, okay? So basically, how much space does that content take up? Now, if this was an image, it would actually scale the image to the height and width that you choose, and it will stretch it as well. So you want to make sure that when you type in your height and width for an image, that you make sure it's the same proportions, the same ratio of the original image. The next thing you can do is that you can also adjust the padding. Okay, so the padding is the space between the content that you create and the border, the outside of that box. Okay, so that this is the box itself. Okay, so that's the space between the content and the box that you put around it. So this can be good if, like, let's say you want content, but you want it to have like a little bit of, like, you have a background color, you want to have more space between it. So for example, with what we're currently doing, you can see like this is just hugging these this text is just hugging the outside of this white box, right? See how like there's no space in between? I would want to put padding in there, and we're going to do that in a little bit, so that this text is a little bit more inside of it, so there's more of a gap between that box and the inside. Then what you can do is you can define the border. The border is this outline that goes around it. We're going to do that in a second as well. Basically, it just creates an outline. You can do it. There's different styles: grooved, dash, dotted, all sorts of ones. All right. So that's the next thing that you can do. And borders can be pretty handy. You can play around with them. They're a little more flexible than you're probably thinking. Then there's outline. Outline is a line just outside of the border. That's what this green dotted line is meant to represent. I never used outlines. They're just not really necessary because you can just use a border. If for some reason you wanted to like stack them, they're actually less flexible as well. They are only going to be square. You can kind of make borders almost round if you want to, like a circle. You can't do that with the outline. So outlines aren't super handy, to be honest. I don't really use them. And then the last thing is the margin. The margin is the space between the border and the next element. So for instance, if we're going to use this browser view little graphic thing that I made using HTML, the margin would be the space here between this and this part here. That would be the margin, right? The space between this text here and the stuff here, this space here, this is the margin, right? So, you have like columns and rows when you're doing graphic design. This would be the gap in between those, okay? This is the gutter, more or less. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to go ahead and apply it, and then, it'll probably make even more sense.